Everyone, and happy Friday to you. Another video on my way to work this morning. Today, wanted to talk about defining some terms so that everybody's on the same page when we're talking about a certain topic. I've noticed lately that there's a lot of misuse of certain words out there. Misapplication, if you will, and I think a lot of it has to do with simple ignorance, just being unaware of the facts, and that's fine. But like they say, ignorance can be fixed, stupid can't be fixed. So I'm just noticing that the level of ignorance in regards to certain specific terms that I'm going to cover here in just a moment is beginning to border on stupidity. And here's why I say that. Let's say, for example, that you are unaware of the fact... let me think of a good analogy. Can't think of it. Having a hard time thinking of a good analogy. If you guys can think of a good analogy later on, let me know. But let me get to the point. The reason I say the ignorance is beginning to border on stupidity is that if you're ignorant about a topic and then somebody comes along and they tell you, look, here are the facts about this topic, then that means that since you've received that new information, you're no longer ignorant. You can no longer claim ignorance, right? Make sense? I think so. Now, if you continue to postulate the position that you did when you were ignorant, now that's moving into stupidity, because now you have new information and you're not using that information. You're not applying that information to what you're talking about. Whew, it's bright this morning. So, let's talk about the word anarchy. Can't even see out those glasses. Now, it helps to know English. It helps to have taken an English Lit course, of course. And it helps to understand what etymology is. Etymology is the breakdown of words, okay? We use words to present ideas, okay? And if we use words that don't associate with an idea to present that idea, people get confused. As you can see why. I mean, it's common sense, right? So let's take the word anarchy. Now, I am an anarchist, okay? Now, the word anarchy, when you break it down, the prefix "an" means without. Okay? The root word archy means basically rulers, a hierarchy, okay? So the word anarchy means without rulers. Now, there's a lot of confusion in the public sphere regarding all of the rioters and the fascists, or the Antifa, as they call themselves, anti-fascists. They're really fascists. And these pundits, news broadcasters, just about everybody, is using the word anarchists to describe those people. Well, what they're doing is they're applying a word that's intended to present the idea of a philosophy, and they're applying it to a behavior. So it's a complete misapplication of the word, and it's presenting an incorrect idea to that behavior. So when you hear people point to those rioters and say, in reference to them, oh, those anarchists, or referring to them as anarchists, or even those rioters themselves referring to themselves as anarchists, I'm sorry, but they don't know what the fuck they're talking about, okay? They really have zero clue. Now, recently I've had the experience of in a polite manner, correcting somebody on this. Okay, this has happened more than once. This happens multiple times, where I'll explain the difference between I'll explain this to people. I'll explain the difference between the behavior of these Antifa and the idea of anarchy. And people will get it. They'll go, oh yeah, okay, I get it. But they'll continue to point to those people and call them anarchists. That's why I say it's bordering on stupidity, okay? Now, does it piss me off? Not really. It's just kind of a minor annoyance, really. But I wish people would start to think, okay? Now, I'm an anarchist, and you don't see me out protesting, lighting trash cans on fire, blocking traffic, etc. And why don't you see me do that? Well, because in addition to being an anarchist, I'm what you call a voluntarist. And you can actually use those terms interchangeably. What I mean when I say I'm a voluntarist is that I advocate a society of voluntary interactions rather than forced interactions, or voluntary associations rather than forced associations. Right now we live in a society of forced associations. I'll give you an example. If you want to get a driver's license, you don't have a choice but to go to the DMV, okay? That's a forced association. If you want to accomplish certain things, you have to go to specific people, and it's mandated by government. That's a forced association. I want a society of voluntary associations where I can choose who I do business with and who I don't want to do business with. And I can choose who I want to associate with and who I don't want to associate with. Now, if you ask most anarchists who understand the definition of the word anarchy, they will agree that they want a voluntary society. Now there's another word, or three words put together, the non-aggression principle. And it's one of the primary principles that anarchists adopt for themselves, right? It's the idea, it's the golden rule, basically. It's do unto others as you'd have done unto yourself. But it's just described slightly different. It is that the initiation of violence is always wrong. Which, if you think about it, is correct. Now, when you see those Antifa out there, usually they're, you know, well-to-do liberal kids that live in their mom's basement and go to college on, you know, well, whatever. When you see those out there and you see people pointing to them and calling them anarchists, you can immediately know, now that you know the definition of anarchy, you see how it's completely misapplied, right? Well, I think it's being done deliberately in the media. And the reason it's being done deliberately is for the purpose of getting people to see violence and think, oh, those are anarchists. Okay, no, those are not anarchists. So it's being done to draw a negative connotation towards voluntarists, people who want a voluntary society, people who don't want government involved in every little aspect of their lives. Knowing how I screw in my bedroom is none of the government's goddamn business. That's the part that pisses me off about this whole thing, is that this is being perpetrated by the media. The misapplication of the word. Now, I don't for 1 second think that the people in the mainstream news media are so fucking stupid that they don't know how to look up a word and understand its definition. So, when it comes to the media doing this, I give them no quarter. There's no excuse for doing that. They know full well what they're doing. Don't fall for it. If you're not familiar with what these terms are, educate yourself. Go get a dictionary. Do some reading. Do some research. Talk to somebody who is a self-proclaimed anarchist, like myself. So, tell me what you guys think. Do you see this happening in the media and in society? And if you don't agree, please explain why. And if you do agree, but you have another reason that you agree, or you have anything to add to it, I'd love to know that too. So just let me know what you think. Please rate, subscribe, hit the like button, and let me know. Hope you're all doing well out there. We'll see you for the next video.